powered by Early Ball, the colors of rock and roll. Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe vom Gitarrenpodcaster. Heute ist bei uns Joe Bonamassa. Er wird nicht nur über sein neues Album Royalty mit uns reden, sondern auch über Gitarren sammeln und einige Sachen mehr, was Gear und Equipment angeht. Und mit wem können wir da besser drüber reden wie mit Joe. Hi Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, and before we go to your new record, Great Royalty, recorded in the UK, we have to talk about a very big loss to the guitar world and art in general. Eddie Van Halen left the planet. So what were your first thoughts, when you heard about this sad news?
Well, I had run into Eddie a few times when he was getting treatment in Germany. And we all kind of knew he was ill. We didn't know how advanced it was. They kept it pretty quiet. But, on Eddie's legacy, the best way I could describe it is there's only a handful of guitar players, Jimi Hendrix, Django Reinhardt. There's a handful that you can quantify with pre and post. Pre-Wes Montgomery, post-Wes Montgomery. Mm-hmm. Everybody played jazz differently. Pre-Django Reinhardt, post-Django Reinhardt. Everybody played gypsy jazz differently. Andreas Segovia, Jimi Hendrix, pre-post. The same thing goes with Eddie Van Halen. Is pre-Eddie Van Halen, you had a great group of players that were out in the 70s, in the rock side, you had Alan Holdsworth was already out. You had, like Dee Miola was playing and all that. And Bill Nelson from Bebop Deluxe and, Tommy Bolin, obviously, Richie Blackmore. There's great rock guitar pre-Eddie Van Halen. Post Eddie Van Halen, everybody played an instrument derived of a super strat. He changed the game. He changed the game for everybody. And that's the best way you could describe his legacy. And there's only a few guitar players like that are pre and post. And he's one of them. And it's, it's a sad loss for the guitar community because you never think in your lifetime, you go like, there's going to be a world without Eddie Van Halen. That's crazy talk, but, he lived a good life. He died way too young. And, Godspeed. He was always nice to me and very, very, very cool cat.
All right, and a little add-on on your YouTube channel on Bonamassa TV. We saw you last year playing Eddie Van Halen Stripe Series at Soundcheck. So how was this to play another guitar player's signature guitar and especially one of these very affordable Stripe Series for you?
Well, that's Mike Hickey. That's my tech. He buys all those Eddie Van Halen things. I think he's got all of them. He's got every version of the Stripe. He's got 20 original Charvels. And it's a different kind of guitar for me. Now, I play Strat all day long. Mm-hmm. What is intrinsic about those guitars, they have big, wide, flat necks with big frets. I'm not used to that. And I'm not used to a very sensitive tremolo. Like the Floyd is very sensitive. So like on a regular Strat, I just put my hand on it and it's okay. You can't do that with the Floyd. The Floyd has to be kind of left alone or else you start getting bending and pitch problems. But every once in a while, I'll pull one of those out and it is fun. It is fun to play those kind of guitars. One knob, one pickup, as simple as it gets,
Absolute great answer to this one. So we step over to, of course, Royalty. And what's a bit surprising for me, it was, in January 2019, for the whole creative process, you moved to London. So
I went to London. Yeah, I went to London and we, Bernie Marsden and I, we wrote songs with Pete Brown. And basically had the whole record done at the end of June of 2019. Then Anton Fig broke his foot. Oh, we had to postpone it till January. And thank God we did it in January because the second date that we had put aside was March 2020 when like it would have been doomed at that point, doomed. And so, you know, it was one of those things where we are, you know, we really wanted to experiment, like would traveling to London, would being out there and immersing yourself not only in British music, but, you know, just being a Brit for a minute, would that, you know, influence the sound? And the answer is yes, by all means it did. You know, the fact that we did it at Abbey Road, the fact that we did it, at, you know, in London in the wintertime, and it was quite the experience.
So we got the whole experience with the decorated Oxford Street, walking down the whole London thing. So
well, yeah, I mean, but we were there to work as well. Yeah. You know, I mean, and it was not a situation where, you know, like we really wanted to make a good record. And one of the important things to know about that is, like, you want to make sure that you play the studio, you don't have the studio play you, so you don't get overwhelmed by the history of it all. And that's, you know, that was important for me. You know, like I learned that lesson in you know, years and years and years ago with these great venues that I was able to play for the first time. And you're like, well, you can either get overwhelmed by it or you can embrace it.
So do you stay now a constant residency in London?
No. I stayed at a hotel when I was there. I didn't move there yet. So, you know, I don't think there's anything that you can do to, you know, you have to the travel laws. I don't even think I can go. I think I could, but I know I can't come to Germany. Like we're persona non grata. Yeah. Like I know a couple of people that are in a band. They went over there to do some shows, and they were Americans, and they got turned around. Like weird times.
Absolute weird times. This is why I asked this, because London, you know, is not in the EU anymore, and I think there are different restrictions.
Yeah, it's a whole mess. So I mean, it's a whole different. Who knows? So I guess if you had a residency, then you could, but you know, but then yeah, who knows?
So you mentioned Bernie Marsden. Of course, we got the lyricist of Cream, Peter Brown, and the legendary TV host and pianist Jools Holland.
Jools Holland, yeah.
So how was it for you to write with such different characters over there?
And Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics as well. Oh. And you know, Jools and I wrote a song together with Dave, and then wrote with Pete Brown, and then, you know, I mean, the whole thing worked out great because, you know, it was supposed to be very British, you know, and you know, Jools has been my buddy for a while, and you know, so is Bernie and all that, and it was just cool. It was like, hey, this is what I wanted to do. You know, that was the whole point of the exercise was to see if we can make a British style record with a bunch of, you know, Americans.
And when you got the idea for this great intro, because it's for me like starting a film soundtrack or starting kind of a James Bond movie or something like that. Yeah,
well, that's Jeff Bova. Jeff Bova and the Bova Orchestra, and no cellos were harmed during the making of that orchestration. Mm-hmm. You know, Jeff is great, and he's done a lot of our orchestrations, and it's very regal. You know, I that's my style. I do pop and circumstance. You know, I don't do anything subtle. You know, I don't want to do anything subtle, nor should I. You know, it's not my game.
So I already mentioned the legendary Abbey Road Studios, and studio plays you and not you, the studio. So how can our viewers how would you describe this vibe of Abbey Road to our viewers here at the Guitar Podcaster?
How to describe Abbey Road?
Or the vibe in Abbey Road when you record there, you know.
The vibe. Okay. The here's the thing about it. It's a great functioning studio. It's not like you walk in and it's like, the Beatles, and there's tons of people in and out. They're doing movie soundtracks, they're doing video game soundtracks, people are doing records, people are doing overdubs, pop-ins, filming. It's a real working studio. And yeah, well, they will they show you and rent you the console that Dark Side of the Moon was recorded on? Yeah. Will they show you the Lady Madonna piano? Yeah. Will they show you the microphone that John Lennon sang, Revolution on? Yeah. The one thing that all that won't do is write those fucking songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you go, this is a great vibe in here. It's so cool. It's historic. It's been a studio since the 30s, I think. And to be honest with you, you go, well, that's good, but you need to make your own legacy in this room, like your heroes did before you. You need to make your own stamp.
So wasn't this not kind of a pressure for you in the songwriting process that you say, hey, I go to Abbey Road, I know what was recorded there in the past, and now I have to write matching songs and great compositions and arrangements to match this legacy?
Well, the thing is, the more you have your songs together, and it doesn't matter if you're recording at Abbey Road, it could be recording at a studio. The more you have your songs together, the better it goes, because the stronger the material, it's like then it just kind of plays itself. If you put in the work in the front half, the work that if you put in the work initially, it really helps the end result.
What I'm always curious about, when we have interviews, you got such an immense output on music, and since records, you only have your original songs and no covers on this record.
Right.
How do you stay creative and on this high level?
Well, you got to have something to say, and I know it's like I put out a lot of music, but the records only come once. The new studio records only come once every 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. So, and by the time this thing comes out, this is 10 months old. So we recorded this 10 months ago, and by the time it comes out, it's 10 months. So I've already had 10 months.
Oh, okay.
So it appears in the revolution of it all, and how it cycles through. It appears to be it appears to be like that's all I do is I'm in the studio. It's actually not. It's actually years go by before, so you got to have something to say. You got to have a reason to do it. You can't just make a record because you can make a record just because, but if you don't have a reason going in, it's like, well, why are we doing that? You know what I mean? And then all the side projects, this is my 45th album, and that's including Black Country Communion, side project, instrumental records, stuff I did with Beth Hart, all that stuff. And so that's my 45th album. What are you gonna
do? I asked this because we discussed it. Is it the album of the month in Guitar Magazine? And when
thank you.
Before we listen to it, because we know that it's that you always put out high quality albums.
Thank you.
After we listened to it, it was the album of the month and 5 out of 5 points for that.
Good, thank you. Yeah. We worked hard on this one.
Yeah.
And it through all of this, I don't know where my career goes from here. I mean, I don't know if it's over or just begin. I have no idea. The thing about it is, I think just on record, my best work is yet to come. And
that's a great attitude.
It's because I've really embraced the studio. I've started to produce records now. I've started to become more of a producer, more of a I'm producing other artists. Like I just produced Eric Gale's record, and I'm starting to refine my process in the studio before we go in there. And it's about the prep work that you do before, and then the studio is just, if you got good players, stuff you just nail this stuff. I mean, because it's like, you have good players. You start with you start bottom floor up. Kevin Shirley always tells me this. It's like drums up. And you come in with a vision. And if you come in with a vision that's refined and so I am bullish that my best studio work is ahead of me. Hopefully.
This is the hard part of the work, to stay that creative. But I think, when we look back on the last 20 years of Joe Bonamassa recordings, look now into the here and now with royalty, I think you're on a good way to do that, and that it gets better and better.
Yeah, and you got to have something to say.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. It's like, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to, I mean, I'll tell you what you won't hear me talking about in the next record is quarantine blues or lockdown blues. I don't want to hear it. No, that's not going to work for me. I know a lot of people have written that song, and I won't be one of them.
No,
it's nobody wants to be reminded of this stuff.
So another thing is, that you recorded in the UK. How did you bring your whole equipment from the United States to the UK? Because along with your amps, the problem is always, the different voltage in Europe.
I use a thing called Kikisui, which is a unit that I was hip to by watching Angus Young's Rig Rundown. And it's a scientific device. It's like a rack mountable, scientifically enhanced. It's from Japan, and basically you could set your voltage. You plug it into any tap, and you could set it for 120 volts, 60 hertz. And whether you go up or down, it's a voltage regulator, and it's a converter, and it makes power when the power doesn't exist. I use that, and the way we get the gear over is the same way as when we come over to tour. So it comes in crates and boxes, and it's horribly expensive, but it's good to have your gear there. A lot of times when you're playing, I remember the old days 20 years ago when you're like different plugs. The Swiss plug was different. The German plug was different. The Dutch and the German plugs are the same. The English is not the same. Italian plugs are different. The ones in Scandinavia don't. I had a bag full of airport converters, hoping they wouldn't burn up.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And then you're trying to take some sort of pedal board that I had that was the US, and then convert that down. So you had 50 hertz. You had all these extra electrons. And I got shocked a few times, like horribly, and that's why I use a windscreen now. I will never sing on a microphone without a windscreen ever again, because of those problems that I had early on. Probably makes me my personality the way it is.
Okay, all right. Is it still? Years ago, you got this big box. What is this big box you got on the side of the stage, or is it now a smaller one?
It's the Kikisui's. It's like 3 rack spaces, about this big, but it's a box. It's in a rack.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of off the side of the rig, and it powers the whole rig. It powers everything. And the thing about when you convert, like a Marshall amp, they were designed at 50 hertz, 240 volts, 50 hertz. It's the way they were tuned. That's what they sound good. Harmonically, they sound good like that. Fenders, conversely, and the amps that I use, Twins and the Dumble stuff is basically a Fender-based circuit. They're more 60 cycles, and it's the cycles that really makes a difference. Because I noticed when we would convert power before that, the way that things would feed back when I would tour Europe was different. I was like, that's weird. It's like it wouldn't bloom. It would be like it kind of squeal, not be sweet sounding. And it's because of the cycles. And once I fixed that, it became like, wow, this is punchy. And every day the rig sounds the same.
Okay, and this is one of the reasons why you don't sell your signature Fender Twin over here in Europe, and just exclusively to America for the sound and the voltage.
Well, we don't offer a 240 version of it, but people in Europe have bought them, and they ship them over, and then they convert them. They have the power converters, step downs. But we only sell directly through our website on the Twins. We're the exclusive dealer. We're the exclusive dealer on a lot of stuff. We're like a little music store.
Yeah, I've seen your new website, and you got pedals.
We got pedals. We sell pedals. We sell cables. We sell
guitars.
guitars. We sell amps. We're about to sell our no-casters, our limited edition custom shop no-casters. So yeah, it's it's like a little music store.
So your fans just have to head over to joebonamassa.com and hit the store button, or
jbonamassa.com, and we'll sell you a letter opener and a tweed twin. How about that?
Great. So how did you bring your guitars over to Europe? Because you got a lot of great vintage guitars, and I think the cold in the in the airplane, I think isn't it dangerous for old guitars?
No, I mean they go over in crates. The Sunburst Les Pauls go over a different way. They're in a case within a case within a case. The rest of the vintage guitars go over in the big racks. And the thing about temperature changes with guitars, old or new, is they don't like extreme temperature changes. So they don't like, oh my God, it's super cold, and then they get shoved into super hot. If you let them, you have to let them at the like if they're on a cargo plane or whatever, they'll get cold, but they get cold evenly. When they come off the cargo plane, they warm up evenly, and that's fine. It's just when you punch them in the face, going, it's freezing, now it's hot. That's when finishes start freaking out.
So what were your go-to guitars, for royalty in the studio? Were there some special ones you used more than others, or did you change like normally?
I used a lot of I used the Sunburst Les Pauls. I used the Les Paul Custom a lot on this record. B-Bender Telly, a Strat, a couple of Strats. I had a Zemitis there, a couple of Zemitis.
Oh, cool.
It was just, a lot of it was my road guitars, because the road guitars are set up to play, very rarely, especially if we're traveling abroad, am I going to pull like a mint guitar out of the vault and we'll use that. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? Because I have road guitars that are set up for that. And it's like, they're great.
So we all hear the guitars we see with you on stage, we hear on royalty, and all the amps and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much my live rig was there. I had a Blues Breaker combo that always comes along for these missions. I had a Selmer amp, and I had a little Watkins Dominator for a British thing. But the Watkins really needed help, so I had to run a Klon through it to get it to distort, because it was pretty anemic sounding. But the Selmer sounded really, really good, and that I used a lot. And have been using it a lot. I used it a lot on Eric Gales' record, and it records really good. It's kind of lo-fi and chewy, it's just good.
Was it the same that Jimmy Page used back in the day, or did
no, not a Zodiac. This was like a little thing. It's like a single 10.
Oh, okay.
It's got tremolo. You just turn the thing on and it distorts. I found it on Denmark Street. It was cheap, and I was like, that's a cool amp. But it's like looking for tweed amps in Fullerton. There's tons of them. It's like Denmark Street. It's whatever. It's just a Selmer. But for us Americans, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. You don't see that very often. I have it in my house in Nashville. I got the little converter on it. Sounds great.
Okay, you mentioned already Nashville. This is one of your new homes, Nerdville East. So when you got the idea to build up a second Nerdville beside the California Nerdville?
Well, I ended up having the opportunity to move to Nashville as a resident about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And, I don't do anything subtle. So the first thing I did when I bought the place, it's a condo, it's not a house. When the first thing I did when I bought the place, I was like, I want a sign, just like over here. So, and I said, Nerdville East. I should have called it Nerdville South, but it doesn't matter. But Nerdville East, it was just an extension of what I do here. So, and a lot of the signs and collectible stuff that I find on the road ends up in Nashville anyway, because our tours always reconcile in Nashville. So I got tons of signs there, and it's a kid's house of guitars. I mean, it's that crazy.
So is California already absolutely packed with skier?
Oh yeah, it's totally packed. It's
Okay,
totally packed. I mean, like the thing is, the in 2016, the Reverb guys came over and they did a thing about my house, and everybody freaks out about that, and they go, "Oh my God, look at that place!" You know. Anyway, I recently watched it about a month ago, just because I was bored and I wanted to, you know, it was just curious to see how much the house had changed. And I watched that Reverb thing, and the house looks empty in that compared to what it is now. Empty. I go, oh my God, what have I done? And so, yeah, it escalates. You know, it escalates. I mean, I haven't bought a lot this year. I have bought a lot this year, but prices of vintage guitars have kind of skyrocketed too quickly for me. And I, in one sense, as a collector, well, your collection's more valuable, but that's okay. But I don't like peaks. I don't like spikes. If it's going to rise, it's got to rise evenly. If it's going to fall, it's going to fall evenly, because spikes tend to react with other spikes. So they go up, they go down. And so I've been laying low because I don't know where the shelf is. And I had a lot of fun at other people's expense in 2009, 10, and 11, because I was able to buy stuff cheaper because people had bought stuff in 2007, early 2008, and at peak prices of historically peak prices. They've never recovered, and rightfully so. And I was able to buy stuff pennies on the dollar because it just free fell. And it wasn't like I was stealing it. This is what it was. It was worth, a Strat was worth $75,000. Now it's worth $20,000. It's just what it's worth, because we're not in a commodities exchange. We're in a speculative space, in the sense that I think this guitar is worth $1,000. Somebody may disagree. Somebody may think it's worth $2,000. Somebody may give you nothing for it. It's all about perspective. So we were really, you know, it's been a difficult, you know, thing to manage this year, because I do still like it. I still hunt cool stuff down. I found some really cool original owner stuff, but as far as just stuff that's been kind of in front of me, I'm like, it's too expensive. It's like, it's always been too expensive, but it's like, there's too expensive, like, yeah, it's a little, that's a little high. And then there's painful. Like, I don't do painful. I don't need anything. What do I need? Nothing.
Yeah. So in preparation for this one, I just went through all the interviews we've done over the years together, and there was one thing I never asked you.
Right.
And this is, how works Guitar Safari? You know, when I go to a guitar store, a vintage guitar store, it's a time-consuming thing to buy a guitar, and you get with Guitar Safari, I think the magical thing is you see the guitar and buy 3 guitars in 10 minutes.
Right.
How does this work? Do we have eagle eyes when it comes down to guitars, or?
There's 3 things about Guitar Safari. I'm cursed with an evil eye, in the sense that my eyes go to the rarest, coolest thing in the room, no matter where it happens. Chances are that's always not for sale. What do you want for that little thing over there? What do you want for that side? What do you want for that guitar? Oh, I'm not selling it. Okay, we'll put that aside now. So I'm cursed because everything that I gravitate to is because I look for the rarest thing, because I have all the other stuff. And the thing about buying guitars, old guitars, and I've watched a lot of my friends, they think about it. They're like, is the neck really for me? Do you like it or don't you? Buy it. If you can swing it, buy it. Well, you know, maybe it's not my ideal neck. And then somebody buys it out from under them, and they're going, oh man, I should have bought that thing because I just waited too long. You have to be decisive. You know, you have to know what you're looking at, and you need to know, like, I am a collector. When I'm on Guitar Safari, that is not a musician in that room. It's a collector. There's two different guys. Joe the musician, Joe the collector. Now the collector goes, okay, I know every guitar that I have in my inventory, hundreds of them. I know exactly what I got in my brain. And I go, if you don't have one of those, or that's a really clean example that you don't see every day. I go after stuff you don't see every day. It's not just, I don't buy any vintage guitar. You go after something that you don't see every day, because through my travels, through my experience being in this business for 30 freaking years, I've seen it all. You know, and my reputation, I'm lucky enough to precedes me that when they see me walk through the front door, they know the mark is there. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, he'll buy. And so it works, you know, and I try to pay fair prices, but I don't want to pay retail. It's like, I want to pay fair, but I'm not going to pay full blown eBay buy it now. I'm not doing it.
So you mentioned eBay. This shocked me a little bit, because you bought on eBay for the first time some gear. I read on the net.
I bought, every once in a while, I need to buy a part for a guitar. And the only guitar I've ever purchased on eBay was a long time ago. I found a 1972 ES355 with the embossed covers like Freddie King. And I bought it on eBay. It was such a painful, pedantic, crappy experience. And just the verbiage coming from the seller about like, please don't disclose who you got this from. I'm a very famous guitar player, and don't disclose that, because I don't want it public. Now I get the guy's name. I go, who the fuck is this? Right? The guy said, no. I'm like, this guy, he's not famous. I'm like, who the hell do you think you are? Apparently somebody. Right? And I was like, wait, what's next? What's next? A cash in a bag at McDonald's? I mean, like, it felt like I was waiting at a McDonald's with a brown bag full of cash, making a guitar deal over an Egg McMuffin. I felt horrible. That turned me off to eBay. I don't buy a lot of stuff online. I like tactile guitar shopping. I like it when you go and you see it, you buy it. Done. I mean, I've bought guitars off of pictures, but I also have trusted people that are handling it, going, what do you think? Is it right? Yeah, okay, cool. Send it.
So the guy that sold the guitar to you, who claimed he's a famous guitar player, didn't know who he was selling the guitar, that you were obviously the more famous guitar player than he?
No, and I didn't really care if he did or not. But he was so adamant about his, you know, please do not disclose who I am, because, you know, it turned out to be he was a backup guitarist to a guy who's actually very famous. But he was the guy who was very famous, has a very famous band. He was the second guitar player in a side project from a guy that is in a very famous band. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, like, we're in the like in the intelligence business, like James Bond, all this cloak. It turned me off to eBay. Yeah. So now if I need a part or something like that, my guy Rick will buy it. I said, I don't even want to deal with these guys. I don't want to ask. I want people to ask questions. I want anything. You know, Reverb is good though. Reverb is good. They built a better mousetrap. You know, they're intermediary, and you know, if there's ever an issue with the gear between the two parties, there's always there's way to reconcile that. You know, which is good.
I love buying on Reverb even more than on eBay, because it's the stuff what you said right now. You know, Reverb is built for musicians, you know, and you don't get screwed.
Yeah, you're not dealing, and you know what I mean? It's like, I come from New York, where they used to sell VCRs in Times Square, you know, for $25, and you think you're getting a great deal on a Panasonic VCR. It turns out it's just a box with 2 bricks in it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I know that. I know that game.
So there are 2 personalities in you when it comes to buying guitars. The one is the collector that buys the mint vintage guitars just for the collection, and the other side, the musician who loves modified guitars with a story. Or
yeah, I like, you know, I mean, well, those are the tools.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. those are the tools. The super clean stuff is, you know, that's the collection. But you know, when you want, you know, the tools that you use are you know, critical. But you know, like, you know, the maple neck Strat that I use live is a 55 hardtail. Well, it's been refretted, you know, and it's beat up, but it sounds great. There's a tool. You know, my Nocaster 51 has a PAF humbucking pickup in the front. It's a great guitar. Fender just recreated it, you know, and it's probably the best instrument I've ever owned. And it doesn't matter what year at that point. When all that stuff has been done to it, you now you have a tool, you know. And those are the best old guitars, the ones that are beat up and user friendly.
I think the beat up Strat was on our cover story in 2000 when we did 2017 for Guitar Magazine when we met in Stuttgart. I think this was the one you mentioned.
I played it forever. I called it the Bonnie Strat, and Bonnie Bramlett signed the back of it with a Dremel. And you know, it's just it's a life guitar. It's a lifer, you know. They're tools, and I have probably 50 guitars like that fall into that category of tools, and maybe more. That, you know, like the song When One Door Opens, I wrote it and played it on a 1968 Fender thin line telly that had been modified in the 70s with a Parsons B-bender and a humbucker. Great. And it sounds fantastic. And the B-bender works. It's a little squeaky, but it works. And but you know, I mean, it's not a mint thin line. You know what I mean? But it's cooler. It's refretted, and it looks cool. It's got great patina, and it works as a tool. And it worked totally as a for what it was advertised to be. It's a tool.
So it's feel like for a painter, when he got a cool set of brushes, it's the guitars, you know, that are special, that inspire you for more music, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's the analogy would be, you know, I once said, you know, you know, one side of the coin, you're a painter, and you spend way too much money on Rembrandt's set of brushes, okay, and then the other side, you just found a set of brushes at a drugstore, going, this is what actually makes me paint better, you know. And yeah, it's that simple. Whatever guitar speaks to you, that's the guitar for you. It doesn't matter what year. If it speaks to you, go for it, you know.
So how do you pick the stores you buy guitars? Because I think you're really picky in
random
picking them. Totally
Yelp. Yeah, I just drive around. We drive around the city, like on the way to the gig or something like that. I just hit Yelp, and I go, well, there's a guitar store here. Let's go check it out. And I never ever telegraph that I'm coming. Never. I always call first and be like, hey, what time you open till? Oh, 6 o'clock. Okay, thanks. Bye. That's it. And that's the only time that screws me is because I use my cell phone and there's a caller ID and my name comes up. But I never telegraph it because I just want to find stuff in the wild. I don't want anybody to plant anything in the store, and you know. But that's my old life. I'm retired now.
So for example, when you go to Norman's Rare Guitars, I think you and Norm, you're good friends, and
yeah,
you do say to him, you come to the store and buy something, or do you do it like this, like at the other
he always has stuff going on. He always has little things happening, you know, always has, like, you know, there's always trips out to the stash. He's got hundreds of guitars that are just premium examples, super rare one-offs. And, you know, I mean, it take 20 years to get to the end of that. You know, but he knows what I like. And he's been trying to get me into other stuff, but I'm really, I do have a firewall. I'm a solid body guy. I like solid body. Gibson, Fender, solid body. I don't want arch tops, too much air between the top and the back. I want acoustics. I'm not an acoustic guy. I like solid body stuff. And Norm's got a lot of crazy Fender stuff. I mean, he's got tons of crazy Fender stuff and tons of old Gibsons, and he's always got something laying around. And it's, you know, he's Norm. He's a legend.
Do you guys trade sometimes guitars or? Oh, okay.
He likes to do that. He likes stuff that I used on stage or whatever, and then I get a nice guitar and I put it. So.
Okay. For all the collectors out there, I got another question because I think you are the right person to answer it. The all famous Gibson Modern from 1958. There is a rumor that you got one that Billy Gibbons.
No.
You don't show it to.
No. If I had one, I'd show it to everybody. I don't know anybody who's ever seen one. Chances are they built them. They have a patent. They filed it for a U.S. patent. So they built Explorers. They built V's. Chances are they built it. 1 or 2 or 5. I just don't know anybody who's seen one. You know, that would be the discovery of a lifetime. But, you know, it'd be like, well, what kind of case does it go into? Modern will fit into a V case. But to get a patent without a prototype, I'm not sure if that was feasible. You know what I mean? So they do have a patent for it. So I think they do exist, you know, but if they do, they're underground. But, you know, it would have to be irrefutable evidence that it's a real one, you know, because Korea stuff's easy to forge. Not easy, but people have attempted. And
okay, so
it's not easy to there's certain you remember like a thing about Gibson is, you know, a lot of people that have guitars of provenance or lack of provenance is they'll like, oh well, yeah, of course it's a little different. They were all different. They were handmade guitars. They were built in a factory that had a process. Now there are anomalies. There are little differences, neck pitches, everything like that. Monday, Friday guitars, absolutely. But there was a process, and there was a standard. And if the guitar didn't make that standard, they would put a second on it, or they would get rid of it altogether. They wouldn't put it out. So they do vary a little bit, but not like this much. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like, well, you know, okay, maybe John D'Angelico stuff because it was handmade, you know, but Gibson wasn't making guitars in the garage. They were real factory. Same thing with Fender. There was a process, and yeah.
All right, so the Modern will stay on kind of Indiana Jones version of the Lost Ark, or
I say go find one. You know, there's a lot of good guitar hunters out there, me being one of them, but I have not had a lead on one. There's no credible leads. Like, oh, well, yeah, there's, you know, it'd be cool to find a picture of an old man playing it, like just proof of concept. Not even, you know, where's the guitar? I don't know, but here's a picture of it. Okay, well, that's a start. You know, there's no credible leads on any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
So now we go to the more affordable side of guitars, because on your online store, of course, and in the guitar stores around the world, we got a lot of Bonamassa Epiphone models, you know, which are in cool cases. And in my opinion, when you pick them up, you know, they feel like proper guitars, but for a real affordable price for under €1,000 or dollars.
Yes, yeah, that's the point. Is, you know, we did our 58 custom this year, been selling really well, and for $7.99, it's a great deal. It's a great guitar, and I started playing them on stage. You know, I open the show, play an Epiphone, something, whether it be a Les Paul or 355 or whatever. And you know, the thing is, they come out, they're set up, they're really good, and the build quality's great. And speaking of process, every single guitar weighs the same and feels the same. I don't know how they do it out there. It's crazy. And I think they make them in Korea, but their standards are crazy. I mean, like every finish is perfect, you know, like, and it's for the amount of money they cost and the amount of value that they get. It's not just because it has my name on it. It's any Epiphone of that series. It's been, it was a great, it's been a great partnership with them, and we do one every year.
So how much time takes the process for the first sketches of one of those guitars to the finished product that you sign off and say, hey, that's a product where my name is on?
It's about an 8-9 month process, from idea to what we want and prototype. That's about an 8-month process.
Okay, Joe, I just looked at the clock. We are at 46 minutes now talking.
All right, man. I gotta go.
Okay, so it was really nice talking to you. I don't want to bother you anymore with some question about guitars, but I think it was fun for you too, or?
Yeah, it was great, man. It was good to see you. So.
Yeah. All right, so have a nice day, Joe. It was cool.
Thanks,
talking
man.
to you and
appreciate it. All right, bye.
And I hope to see you back on the road somewhere, in person. It was a nice
Eventually. Cheers, dude. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Powered by Early Ball, the colors of rock and roll.